Welcome to the Self-Defense Warrior Podcast, where our hosts, Jeffrey Wilson and Pat Milicic, probe the minds of experts from a vast spectrum of knowledge on how to best prepare for the inevitable emergency situation to come. Jeffrey and Pat in the Self-Defense Warrior Podcast are your insurance policy moving forward. And now, here they are, the hosts of the Self-Defense Warrior Podcast, Jeffrey Wilson and Pat Milicic.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Self-Defense Warrior Podcast. Excited to have a guest back, and this is the super squirrel conversation that we're going to have. We're going to be switching over to through the paywall here pretty soon, because this is some cutting edge stuff that you're about to hear about from our guest. And Jeff, our last episode with him was quite a bit of fun.
Without a doubt. I mean, he's doing some groundbreaking stuff, and I'm definitely wanting to hear the kind of the part two of this, but like the revolutionary kind of materials he's working with, building not just houses but communities. I found so very fascinating, and we're going to get into a little bit today, kind of the crypto aspect of it and how kind of the financial side is revolutionary as well. Angelo, welcome back to the show. Obviously, summarize, if you will, you're the inventor of 60 however many patents you have. This is your company. Give us a brief summary, if you will, about what you're up to and this next phase, what we're going to talk about today, the crypto side of it.
Sure. First, I want to say thank you to receive me again. It's really cool to be able to express and talk to people around, and especially to you guys. So let's get into it. So the summary of the last episode and the process is that for 16 years we create a new process of construction, and we started by, like everyone, what material you have to use, whatever is the technology that you put inside, etc. But we ended up in a really like 16-year rabbit hole, and from yes, it's really a rabbit hole, and we ended up that we discovered that real estate is touching every aspect of our human life, from politics, science, economy, ecology, every community. So everything is protection, so every aspect, beauty, art. So really, you can touch every part of a life, of human life, through real estate, and that's the rabbit hole we went. So if you want to change the world of real estate, you have to step back and start to have a holistic, systemic approach, and that's the difficulty. Every aspect has to be put inside of it. So we work on designing that, and we concentrate that into a manufacture, because number one, it has to be a manufacturer project, because if not, you can't control the cost, you can't control the quality, you can't bring inside new technology, etc. Then the second one, it was redesign the entire strategy of real estate. Today you have too many middlemen in the world of real estate, so that only could save 40% of the cost of every project. I don't know if you mentioned every building 40% cheaper, just because you redesigned the strategy, that it was actually not really done again with a holistic approach. It's been the real estate strategy is being done just by business. Oh, I can find a niche here, let me put my project. Oh, I can find this, and now suddenly you have actor in the world. I talk about the developer, the contractor, the architect, the engineer, who are supposed to work together, but by definition they work against each other, and that's the part that is interesting, and even make too much money, and there is difficulty. And then the most difficult part of the evolution of real estate is that when you have a new technology, it's like I will call it the Jesus cross path to get to a house. It will take almost 50 years. Imagine someone who have an idea has to pay a lot of R&D, test it. Once it's tested, he has to certify. A lot of cost again. I'm certifying for a local, I'm certifying for international. It's crazy. But once he did even all that, it's not even finished. He has to convince contractor and the market to use that technology in there. And nothing is made to work on that. So our factory is like an antenna, local antenna to a city, because it's a city builder, to actually be able to implement any technology, new future that work into directly the market and to the housing, if it makes sense. So inside the factory, you have laboratory, you have law help, legal help, so you know how to really implement that locally in your business. And then what is really important is that we can save 75% of the cost of construction and a fifth of the time of construction. That's really important. So imagine if your house costs 100, in reality, it will cost 25 to build. And the building is way stronger and designed for the future generation. That's a summary of what we did what we took on the last episode. And
Yeah.
I think it's already,
And so, that's the thing, 75%, 1/5 of the time to build a house. These houses can look like they're built out of wood. They can look like they're built out of black marble, white marble. It can be designed in any way, shape, or form, which is absolutely incredible. And they're indestructible. They're literally almost indestructible.
Really, literally,
they're going to last forever. So they're going to hold their value, for a long time. Where other houses are blowing away like toothpicks in tornadoes, these things are standing strong. So that's what the biggest takeaway for me is, that people are going to be safe in less expensive housing, much less expensive, much more affordable.
Yes.
Housing. So that really, go ahead and switch over to even more cutting edge, how you're tying this together with digital currency. And so give us a basic rundown of the process that you've had to go through to establish the digital currency side of this and have it attached to the real estate.
Yeah, and thank you. And it's really important to explain the reason we got there, because the digital currency was not even the idea in the beginning. So the goal was that we discovered that a factory has to be local, because real estate is a local problem or local matter. A city or a state, you have to be able to know the code, the permit, and everything. So, and work into the community. So the idea was to have a factory. The dream is to have a factory in every city of the world to redesign those cities, because that's really also important to remember. The factory is not there to design a house or two. It's there to design 10 million square feet per year of freedom of architecture real estate. That's really important. So if you want to change the world, it can't be one or two, at our level. It has to be at the top level. So our business model was to sell those factory or license those factory to big developer in every city of the world. So this is the first idea, to understand the next step. So then after, because it's all technology, the goal was to connect all the factory together. And that's really important, because to me, what human is missing is a real access to the information and to the knowledge, but to be able to use it. So imagine the mushroom work, the way the mushroom in the world work, like the mycelium. You have horizontal life of mushroom, all this network of miles and miles who connect each other, who have information, life, sharing. And at the moment you have a drought or a fire or anything like that, the mushroom, the mycelium pop a mushroom out, the one that you see, actually, the one that we cut to eat or whatever. And that mushroom is there to harvest moisture, information, food, and the preparation for whatever is the next step in the expansion of the network. That's exactly the idea we try to do. Imagine that every factory in the world will be that mushroom who actually can harvest and implement the knowledge of all over the world. When I say knowledge, just a second, even if we explained that in the last one, knowledge can be, imagine you have a water recycling process that was done really well in Arizona, and you have a factory in Namibia desert to try to build, but they will have access to that knowledge immediately. So that's what we were working on, and we still are working on, is to create that network. And we knew that network had to be decentralized, because that's the problem of what's happened today, is that you can't put that in one and under one company who control everything. You have rules who are important, but the decentralization here is that in every city, it will be in every building, it will be the network that allow to, and the computer and the servers who allow to connect all those factories together in the world and all those houses. So imagine now every factory and every house created by that factory is part of the network and the exchange of network. So the first one is important, is receiving the data from those houses. So we have put, that's probably one of our secrets, is that we have put tons and tons of sensors into the factories and into the building itself. Like your car, it's time that we get to that level. You know, your car can tell you when the oil is too hot, when you have so many sensors in the car, but the idea is to bring the next generation of housing has to have all those sensors to be able to communicate. You see,
so there's a huge, sorry, I'm going to cut you off for a second. I apologize.
Go ahead.
So there's a huge, chip shortage, because of China and a lot of other stuff going on. Automakers had tens of thousands of vehicles sitting, not completed because of the chip issue. Are you able to talk about how you were able to circumvent that and figure that out?
Yes. So remember, the idea is also to create locally. The factory is able to do that. In fact, it's not that complicated to have those chip design here. The problem you have is that when you have to do a lot of sales and stuff like that, a building is usually taking a little bit of time to build. So you have the possibility to put and to find other place where to buy those circuits. But also the goal is to be able to see if you can make them from scratch inside the factory, linked to the sensor. And it's happening that is not that complicated to do those first information. Now, let me give you an example. Imagine you have a leak in a house. Today, the only way you know it, I was explaining that last time, is when your drywall is already down. It's too late. So we have sensors that we just define now with software working. Is that sensor can recognize a leak before it arrives.
Jeff could have used. Sorry to cut you off. Jeff could have used those sensors. Jeff could have used those sensors.
Yes.
Jeff had a leak.
Still.
No, sorry. Repeat again because it was a cut for a second. Can you tell me again what you just said? I couldn't hear
Pat was saying I could have used those sensors because I had a leak like 3 in the morning. One of the pipes busted my basement and had to do a little temporary fix on it.
Will have shut the sensor will shut the valve. So the sensor there, what it does is recognize that there is a leak because there is a pattern which is not normal, and it will shut the valve. And what it does even better is send an email, a notification or a text, whatever you want to, who is responsible for that valve. So before even the what's happening, when you wake up in the morning, you have a text or an email saying, hey, you can't take a shower because the water of that valve was shut cause of a leak. So those are the type of sensors that we put inside. But also you have sensor who allow to check the rain that happened in that neighborhood, in that house at that period of the time. So it's really a lot of information coming. That's the network that we try to create. And it create also, how you say, an exchange of data between the factory and the knowledge. So if I'm a factory here, like I was saying, if I'm in Namibia desert and the architect, he tried to figure out how we can find a solution to harvest the little rainwater or to design his roof differently, there is an AI that we are putting together, and all that is in progress. Okay, it's really in the beginning. That's why actually we are making a crowdfunding out of that. It will be an AI linked to the entire network who will bring to the architect whatever he needs as information from the network that he doesn't know, or it will take him hours and hours of research based on his work now. So AI can go really fast saying, oh, you are working on harvesting rainwater. There is a company in Arizona, there is a company in Russia, or a factory in Russia who actually did that. And those are the data and the information they're doing. So you can redesign your roof or your water based on that. See, those are the information that we have to redesign, is to create that network that link all the factory together and that have an active access of using the data and sharing the data with everyone. Imagine, I like to use that term, but imagine the Matrix movie. All my life I thought that I had to try to help to get out of the Matrix, and I think it's a complete mistake. I think we should stay in that network of the matrix. But the problem is today is that all the energy of humanity goes into one entity, and it's about that today. It's a few who control all the energy of humanity. So imagine if you have a network who actually redistribute that energy to humanity based on their need or whatever is the solution or a problem that you have to fix. And now we all together. So it doesn't matter that you are in America finding a solution. You will help everyone in the world who have the same tool, which is the factory, to build it, to put it on the market. You see, and that's what this network is.
This technology, the AI technology, everything you're talking about is like a double-edged sword, right? It can be used for bad or it can be used for good. Your intentions are obviously good, and it needs to be presented that way to the public so the public understands their options, right?
Exactly. It's a tool. You have to use AI is a tool or everything. Or the sword is the hand. That's what Confucius said. It is the hand who use it who actually decide if it's go. So the problem is not the sword. I can take a pen and make it a weapon if I want. That. So the problem is not whatever is the extension of that hand. Is how to educate the hand to don't use it in the wrong
right.
aspect. So this is what I really believe in education, and it's important to know that in the factory there is a school, a high-level school, to really be able to educate the philosophy of the factory directly to the community through that. So let me come back to the network, because that's bring to the currency. So because we have a network of exchange, we start to think about another problem that we had to solve is, and everybody talk about it today. Crypto is going down, is crashing. Inflation make the fiat currency becoming really bad. We don't know what's happening with the dollar. Are we completely going down? Is there? And anyway, you understand that without taking any side, that is natural on a predator world. That if the lion king is weakened, some of other lions say, hey, maybe it's the moment to take the place, and I don't want to say who's right or who's wrong. It's just natural approach. So if you have the power for 80 years or 100 years, and then suddenly you become a little bit weaker, it is normal that other powers that are emerging, they say, maybe we can do that for the moment. So this is why our project became a global project, and say, okay, how can we, through the idea and our philosophy, which is solving problem and not, how much money we're going to make, is to say how we can think about that solving problem too. If we already have on the ground a production, you have a factory, you build 10 million square feet of real estate per year, that's a reality. That's anchored to whatever is there. So because it's a reality, we could actually create an economy on top of it that is international too. And we were thinking about that. So, and we had an idea. So we can create a coin, but it's not, for sure it has to be a digital coin, because it's the only way today it has to be decentralized, really decentralized. But also that's the goal is to create the best of both worlds. Is to create we call that a meta currency. So it's a currency who has the best of the digital work and decentralized work, and the best of the currency work. So the idea is, what is, to me, it shouldn't be. You see, the idea of digital and decentralized was really good in the beginning. It was, hey, we can create a currency who doesn't depend on a government, who's not depending on a war or anything. Let me give you a best example to me of why crypto is good, is that when we have an engineer whose family are in Afghanistan. When the troop left from Afghanistan, that's a real something that I'm telling you, like, happened in Earth. His uncles living in Afghanistan ended up in real trouble, and one of the uncle was professor in college, and the other was a contractor. So the contractor was more rich than the professor in college. But what's happened is, when the Taliban came back into that city, they had to leave, and they took their stuff, took their family, and they had to go. They couldn't bring their house with them, their bank account. They couldn't change the money from Afghanistan. Who take it? So what they did is that they left Afghanistan. They ended up in Germany, and they could have been just refugees, taken care by the government. But in fact, one of their uncle been buying Bitcoin all the time for that matter. And what he did when they arrived, he went to a coffee shop and he sold his Bitcoin. And now he has German money, and they rent a house. They could afford to live decently just because they had this international in the cloud money. You see, so that's the aspect that is positive, that he was positive, but he became completely. C'est important, mais qu'est-ce que tu fais? Oh, my wife offered me a coffee, so really fantastic.
That's very nice of her.
Thank you.
So when you talk about the digital currency, there's more to this, obviously, because this digital currency, where other digital currencies really are just truly fiat, they're not backed by anything tangible. This digital currency will be tied to the real estate that you're creating, which is
that we create. I'm coming to it.
The only digital currency, right?
Exactly.
With that tangible asset.
100% back. This is why it's important. So, and that's what I was explaining. So you understand why digital currency could be good. This international, currency that everybody could use, that there is no link to a country, etc., etc. But what's happened is what it became negative is that it was absorbed by, I would call it, the Wall Street of this world. It became, it became a store value. It became a game of up and down,
manipulation and
yes, and value. So, but what's happened is when you do that, you cannot. It cannot be anymore. A money of exchange is impossible. How can you do if today you have a value of 60,000 in your account and tomorrow you have 20 with the same value because it went down? Nobody can prepare a future on that. You can't say
it's gambling.
Exactly,
it's gambling.
It's not a retirement plan. So I'm okay. I'm not criticizing that, but he delete the idea that the cryptocurrency could have been a money of exchange, international money of exchange for everyone is impossible. So what's happened is then we go back to the fiat money, which we know what's happened everywhere in the world, and it makes sense. If you want to keep your money strong, but you have to keep the power and whatever is behind. And I don't want to enter in politics. That is not my problem right now. It's really how can we make this not happen again? So how we could create a money, actually, a currency, a meta currency that is for everyone, possibly used by everyone. So the most important part is you have to back it by something. If you don't back it by something, it doesn't work. So, but I want to come back to why the dollar has been working also for a long time, even when they decide to stop the gold, is because America was offering one thing important that it was difficult is an economy. They say, hey, there is an economy behind that. No matter what is behind this word economy, you can say, okay, I'm trusting it because it's moving around. There is an economy. There are things moving, and they use and they create something. And this is what is important, because in reality, it's not the fiat currency the problem. Is the way the economy has been built for the past 80 years is too much in a fight competition with everyone. So we had to create an idea of non-competitive economy. And every factory actually is not competitive to another factory because the market is its city. You see, so in every city, the factory will build almost 10 million a year. And you can take big city of the world and those factories can live for the next 100 years. So what's happened is the economy created around that factory is not competitive with another one. So one factory doesn't have to kill another factory to be able to stay strong. It's actually the opposite. The more they're all strong, the stronger is the entire process. So that's really the philosophy we want to explain into our creation of the future currency that we are preparing. So the idea was, first we have to link it to the creation of a currency which is not just random. So the idea is, because it's a license, the factory is a license. So imagine 10 million square feet. In the license, we say that every time a developer build his real estate for every year, 1/5 of that real estate, 20%, it will be put into an international application. And if you want to buy the coin, you want to put $1,000 dollar to buy 1,000 worth of Rhizo, because the coin is called Rhizo. But you have to go to the app and buy that, put your $1,000 and receive your $1,000 of Rhizo. But what's happened is that money doesn't come into our pocket. You see, because the exchange is done. When you go to buy Bitcoin, you put $1,000, you receive $1,000 of Bitcoin. Here we assign that $1,000 to a project. Actually, we would like that the person who bought the coin assign that in a project that is interested in one of the factories of the world, no matter what it is. And he put that. So now the developer receive a building for free because it's paid by the community. So what's happened is that building, it can never be sold. It's always going to back in one, and I call that support, and it's really important to understand that. Is support the real estate support the coin. Let me know if it's clear, because that's everything's going to be started on this one. And if you guys want, I can share a screen with an image that I have in the website. There is an image that can show the process, and maybe I can explain that even if we don't see.
Yeah, that would be great.
You guys are okay to do that?
Yeah,
so
absolutely. Please.
If you give me a second, and you tell me if you see.
So the real estate can never be sold for anything other than Rhizo?
No, it cannot even. That real estate can never be sold. So the developer receive money to build the real estate for free. He can take the rent of it. He can receive the proceed of it, but he can never sell it, because like that real estate always will support the coin that was created. You see, so the coin is not created in the air. It's created every time a real estate is created.
Sure.
Like that, right. You don't have more coin than whatever is the value of the real estate in that market. But I have to explain that with the image, because there is one step more than that. The real backing of the real estate come from a decision that we made, and we have to explain that philosophy. It's really important. You know, I like to use the Tesla example, because it's a big company that everybody knows. The problem of the corporation today, the multinational corporation, is that you use Tesla. It worth $1 trillion today. He owns 27%. Doesn't matter whatever he does with it, that is his money. But what's happened with the 73%? Today, the problem of the corporations is that those 73% goes into the pocket of a few. Remember matrix design? It goes into a pocket of a few who don't even care about the company itself. Their only interest is every quarter how much money they're going to make, and if they have to make. And if you have to fire 1,000 employees to do that, doesn't matter that those guys go to stress, their life is trash. It's not important as long as the quarter is interesting. And the same if I have to dump in the ocean a bunch of container full of whatever material that is not good, as long as it makes sense. So our idea was, okay, legally, a multinational corporation is perfect as an image. But imagine if I keep those 73% and I reuse that money to solve problem of the network itself. You see? So that was the idea. So the Glow Green, the way it works, is like McDonald's. We take 15% per every building built in the world from those factories. So those 15% goes into a bank account. 80% of that money is assigned to the project itself. And that entire money is designed also to back the coin 100%. So we are backing the coin with, for the moment, for the future, until there is no need, we are backing with real cash. Our profit, the one that we receive from all the 15%.
You've been listening to the Self-Defense Warrior podcast with Jeffrey Wilson and Pat Miletich. Watch the complete interview on Red Voice Media Premium using the link below, completely uncensored and ad-free. Not a member yet? Try it for $1.